Hello, welcome to Pedal Partners. Today we're going to be looking at my favorite 90s shoegaze albums. I don't know how many we're going to feature. We're going to feature quite a few numbers, but numbers are not a thing I'm interested in. Definitely subscribe if you like shoegaze, because Pedal Partners is the home of shoegaze. I'm from the shoegaze in the Thames Valley. I make the shoegaze with the pedals. Let's get going into this list. Bowery Electric's beat is the kind of music that words would never do justice, but here we are, so let's put some words out there to describe Bowery Electric. This album puts me in a trance. It takes me somewhere nice. I'm not sure if that somewhere is a real geographical place at all. I like listening to it in cars. Maybe the music is transient, disembodied, a beautiful combination of shoegaze guitars, my favourite type of guitars, and trip-hop beats, my favourite type of beats. I listened to it before I moved out for the first time, somewhere in the Cotswolds next to a cell phone tower. I've listened to it on American highways, places that were once perfect in my imagination, but now are very much real and imperfect. Bowery Electric fly under a lot of people's radar. Maybe, like a lot of good music, they just didn't have a marketing push. A lot of my favourite music seems to fall under that category. Underappreciated gems. This is a good one. Anyway, as Bowery Electric themselves said, words are just noise. I've actually come to know Scott in person. Cool guy. It's kind of crazy though, considering my first introduction to Lovesliescrushing was driving through the English countryside as a teenager, listening to what is again disembodied music, floating ethereal vocals in stark contrast to walls of guitars. Again, another great musician that seemed to fly under the radar. In conversations I've had with Scott, we've talked about the geography of shoegaze, so maybe it might have something to do with that. Blow Eyelash Wish is to me an even more extreme version of Loveless. Start with Loveless and then come here. If you found Loveless an out there and heady mix of textures, then this will be even more of a shock to the system. Like diving into a frozen ocean. A beautiful collection of sounds put to tape. Literally, Scott delves heavily into tape-based productions, and I think that's part of what makes the sound so special. One of my first introductions to American shoegaze, I guess. Album opener There's No Such Thing as Black Orchids recalls parts of MBV in its use of glide guitar and floaty vocals. But then suddenly there's arpeggios. If you know me, you know I love arpeggios. As all good shoegaze should do, this band do their best to destroy guitars. Interesting band lilies, might have to do some more vids on them. I like the way this band approach guitars. In some way, it makes me feel similar to how I feel with Bowery Electric. Great driving music and great music for taking you to other planes. Southpacific are a band that are often described as post-rock with shoegaze elements. There aren't any vocals and I'm very much okay with that. The focus is guitar, loosely placed with delays and distortion. Noise is used as a compositional element. The funny thing is, I have driving stories for each of these albums. I love listening to music when driving. It makes everything so cinematic. My Southpacific driving story isn't so glamorous though. The first time listening to them, it was a rainy day in Milton Keynes. Shout out to my sisters and brothers in MK. I don't know, you might have heard of this one. So I have two driving stories for this album, the most shoegaze of albums. I remember when I first started getting into MBV, driving through Northampton and thinking, man, this stuff is pretty out there. I don't know if I can get into this. Well, as you can probably tell from my channel, here we are now. This album and MBV in general really clicked with me when I was driving down to Cornwall. Cornwall was pretty disconnected from the rest of the world, and it's kind of like traveling in time. Tiny country lanes and the most beautiful ocean views. I remember listening to MBV throughout my Cornish holiday, and it just made sense. The layers of guitars are like the ocean, overwhelming and washing over you. Dangerous but beautiful, drowned in a world of sound. As my friend Manaka Labs describes it, oceanic rock. Shoegaze is all about textures and creating these otherworldly scenes out of our wall of effects. Hello, it's me, of course. I'm going to talk about Slowdive. The opening chords from this debut EP open up my favorite band's career in glorious fashion. It's actually pretty easy to play, just 3 or 4 chords if I remember correctly, but it's what they do with the chords that really matters. Distorted and dissonant, it was Slowdive's early catalogue, and in particularly their early EPs, that truly made me feel like a shoegazer. It's a difficult choice between this album and Souvlaki for me when it comes to my favourite album of all time. This album saw the shoegaze band change in direction, leaning more into ambient guitar spaces to craft what is a sonically perfect album. Some of my best memories have been soundtracked by the songs in this album, especially the first time I met Paige. Crazy For You is probably our joint favourite song of all time. What Neil did with the guitars on this album is genius. It's so minimalist yet evoking such strong emotions. Minimalist guitar, maximalist emotion. Us three at Pedal Partners love the demo versions too. These songs are really too precious for me to talk about really. They remind me of summer days at home, going to my favourite places with my favourite people. Honestly saved the best for last. The first Shoegaze album I fell in love with, featuring some of the most beautiful compositions of all time. There's nothing else in the universe like Souvlaki Space Station. Trust me, I've been searching, nothing matches Slowdive for me, and I'm quite okay, nothing ever will, I know at this point. I'm not even going to try put any objectives to it. I'll admit no music has made me cry as much before or since the time I first discovered Souvlaki Space Station. I guess it awakened something profound within me to the point that I've dedicated my entire life to this genre, the most beautiful of genres. A nostalgic and cinematic album, there isn't a single misstep on the entire album. What Neil, Simon, Rachel, Christian and Nick created with this album is timeless and the perfect shoegaze album. This is the one that really got me into the whole shoegaze thing and the whole pedal thing really. It introduced me to my favourite pedal of all time, the Boss PS2, and is a big reason why I do what I do with my life. Share the love of shoegaze and effects, and even making my own shoegaze pedals now.